Hello, friends, and welcome to today's episode. Everyone in the building was now looking at her family. The loud sounds hurt her ears and went straight to her heart, like 1,000 tiny knives. She had been afraid of this. But one waitress had a completely different face than the rest of the people who were staring at her. For Jamie Matthews Hustes, it would have been an insult to say that the day had been long. It was a dangerous list of errands, meetings, and other stops that couldn't be put off any longer. She kept a close eye on one person through it all. Even though her husband was a gem and did more than his fair share of family work, it was her baby boy, Ian, who was her pride and joy. She could see that the day was starting to wear on her. But since they were so far away from home and all hungry, they had to make one more stop, which would make her cry. For Jamie and her husband, the neighborhood Cracker Barrel was a safe pick. We were very happy to be in a room with air conditioning. So was any food they could quickly get their hands on. The trouble was with little Ian, though. The world couldn't go on until he could go to McDonald's and get a Dory or Nemo toy from the present Finding Dory Kids meal. Jamie gave the waitress a desperate look and said he was sorry for bringing food from outside. But that wasn't the only problem her family had brought to the business. As soon as they sat down, it was hard for her to take care of her baby boy and read the menu at the same time. When Ian opened the Happy Meals and saw that they didn't have the toy he wanted, that was the spark that set off the pile of dynamite. So much for that. It began with tears. Jamie and her husband both knew what was going to happen and gave long, tired sighs. Ian screamed at the top of his voice. It was so loud that everyone in the room heard it. That's when people started to stare and talk. Couples who were trying to have a peaceful lunch rolled their eyes and gave each other dirty looks because of the noise. Even families with other children looked surprised by the reaction. Jamie felt like the whole world was coming down on her when she heard the feared words spoiled brat and horrible parents. Now it was her turn to start crying. The waitress returned. "Are you ready to order?" was all she said. Jamie saw something different in the woman's eyes, though. She picked something at random from the list of meals while her husband carried Ian outside while he was yelling like crazy. But that wasn't the end of the meltdown, nor was it the whole truth. Jamie put her head in her hands and started crying, not because of how her son reacted, but because of how everyone else reacted. Ian wasn't an ungrateful brat. He was a wonderful boy who also had autism. Too much was going on during the day, and not having a toy was the last straw. That wasn't all, though. He was so good most of the time, but today was just one of those days. It was out of control. Jamie didn't like it when people looked at Ian and made snap judgments about him. Where did kindness go? The waitress then came back with a to-go bag and a note she had written by hand. Jamie cried even more when she read the words. It wasn't an angry note like the ones she had gotten before. Instead, it was just a simple way to show sorrow and support. When Jamie tried to pay for lunch, the waitress told him that it was already paid for. She looked at the lovely waitress and asked again if she could pay. The woman smiled and said that her meal was already paid for. Even though she didn't have her own kids, she knew what was going on. Jamie went to social media right away. It was a small thing, but it meant a lot to her family and changed the whole course of the day. It sometimes seemed impossible to feel the normal, crushing feelings that came with these meltdowns. So, the message really helped. And so were the responses to the story. A lot of love and support poured in. She felt less alone and more understood after hearing stories from parents in the same situation. People in the service business told her she was still a good mom. It was a chance act of kindness that she knew would help her get through some trouble in the future. That's it for today, friends. Please let us know what you think about this story. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon for more amazing stories.